I want to talk more about the kinphilia. Kinphilia is a spirit that attaches itself to a family line and haunts successive generations of family members. Now, I believe in this family there may be at least two. I know I have one attached to me, but mine is more a nuisance. I will lose things, I'll misplace things, like I mentioned in a previous video about my cell phone being moved into another room. Like for me, I'll lose my car keys. But I know I put my car keys in one particular place, but when I go look for them, they're not there. And I know what the routine is. I need to look 3, 4 times. And then on the third or fourth time of looking in the same place, my keys will be right there out in the open. And this happens all the time. Now, for my brother's spirit, I think it's more of a malevolent one and an antagonistic one, more on the lines of like a poltergeist. Now, I talked to my nephew about this because my nephew's had a lot of experience dealing with it because he's lived with them a few times. One time, my nephew was living with him, and my brother had a room upstairs in his apartment that my nephew was terrified of. And every time he would pass it to go to the bathroom, he would literally run. He would run into the bathroom, run out of the bathroom because the place was haunted. The backstory apparently is that there was an older lady that lived in the apartment before him that passed away. So there was always walking upstairs, doors shutting, um, shadows being seen, strange noises. Now, a few years later, my brother lived with my nephew again, and paranormal stuff just ramped up in the house. I mean, things like voices, things moving around, shadows being seen, figures being seen. And one night in particular, my nephew said he was sitting in a computer room and he looked up at the bookshelf and there was a book that looked like it was being pulled off of the shelf. And my nephew said he looked up at it and it seemed like the book levitated in the air for a second and then fell right on his head. And he literally ran out of the room, hopped in his car, sped down the road, and he saw a parking lot with lights on and he pulled into that and it just happened to be a church. And my nephew sat there for a little while to calm down before he went back into the house. Now, after my brother moved out of that house, he called my nephew up and convinced him to take a few EVPs one night. So my nephew reluctantly said, okay, I'll make some EVPs. There was really nothing going on that night. My nephew went in the laundry room, had it EVP clear as day. But there was nothing going on before my brother called. So my nephew's convinced, and I kind of agree with him, that paranormal activity seems to ramp up when my brother's involved. There was another instance in the woods behind my parents' house. I've mentioned these woods too, how spooky they are. My brother, my nephew, and his friend were out in the woods having a campfire. This is about 11 o'clock at night, and there was a moon. It wasn't a full moon, but it was still bright. And my brother decided to go back to the house. So as my brother goes back to the house, he's walking through the woods, and my nephew's friend looks up. He sees something moving in the trees. Like imagine looking up to the tree canopy, a good 30, 40 feet high in the air, and there's the bright moonlight behind it, and you're seeing a shadow jump from branch to branch. Now, the branches didn't move at all, but the shadow itself, that large shadow figure, looked like it was heavy enough to weigh down some branches, but it was just jumping from branch to branch. My nephew's friend said, "You see that?" My nephew seen it. My nephew said, "Okay, that's enough. We're out of here." They walk back to the house, and as they're walking through the woods, they're looking up and they're seeing the shadow follow them. They get into the yard and they stand back away from the tree line. They look and they see the shadow came up through the branches and it looked like it was looking down at them. And then it turned around and then it jumped back through the branches and disappeared again into the woods. Now, another time when my brother and nephew were living together, this was up in the woods of New Hampshire. They lived in a house where the strangest things happened. My nephew literally saw a sink turn on by itself and the shower turn on by itself. My niece would see what looked like a figure looking in the window. My nephew saw shadows passing by the windows, and with how high the windows were off the ground, these figures had to be about 10 feet high. Now, this is the strangest thing, which makes me think, like, is this a demonic entity? Because there were times when either my niece wouldn't be home or my brother wouldn't be home, but my nephew and his girlfriend would hear their voices. And that is a particular trait of a demonic entity where it learns how to mimic voices. And then my brother moved, um, and all of a sudden, those type of activities just kind of ramped right on down again. So my nephew and I talk about it, and it definitely sounds like there's a spirit attached to my brother. And like as I said, like my spirit is, he's a pain in the neck because I'm constantly losing things. But the one that seems to follow my brother around is a little bit more ominous, and like I said, antagonistic. And my brother's actually felt slaps on the back of his neck, and I have seen my brother attacked as well. So I would say it has a very hostile, you know, malevolent character to it. So I would have to ask you, the listener, when you have things that you can't find, things that you know where you set it down, then all of a sudden, it's right back where you're looking for it at, or just strange noises. You feel like something may have brushed against you. Maybe you have a kinfolk attached to you as well.